So, good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. Today I will be presenting on behalf of my colleague Maya Sausmakat and also my supervisor of my ongoing doctoral research, Professor Timmy, and I will be focusing on what part of my research focuses on, which is the Xlendi underwater archaeological park. And I will be talking about the process of transforming the site to park. So I will be taking you to Gozo. This is where the Xlendi underwater park is located, specifically to the southeast of Gozo in Xlendi, which is a modern-day fishing village, which is also home to the more well-known, perhaps, Phoenician shipwreck in Xlendi, which has been subject to excavation at 110 meters depth. This area is also home to another deepwater site, which is known as the Tower Wreck, which has been transformed into the Xlendi Underwater Archaeological Park. And yes, it is deepwater. It is located at 105 to 115 meters depth. So Xlendi today, intimate modern-day fishing village, but in the past would have extended around 200 meters further inland and would have been home to a major commercial harbor. So it would have seen a lot of activity going on there from the Phoenician times through to the medieval period. And on the right-hand side over here, we can see this headland where at the end we have the Xlendi Tower. The Xlendi Tower was built in the 1600s by the Order of St. John, and the shipwreck that we speak about is located in close proximity to the Xlendi Tower, but 105 meters below, which is why it came to be known as the Tower Wreck, essentially. So the Tower Wreck doesn't actually feature a tower underwater, but due to the proximity to the Xlendi Tower, this is how it gained its name. Something else about Xlendi is it's known historically and even nowadays to be subject to inclement weather conditions. So winds and storms hit quite badly over there, and there are two ancient shipwrecks in the area, as well as more accidents happening even nowadays, unfortunately. So we can imagine that the Xlendi harbor and the area around is very much rich in material culture. So, yes, the area has been known to contain archaeology since the advent of scuba diving and the underwater world becoming more accessible, and this is in the 50s, 60s when amphorae started being recovered from the bottom of the Xlendi Sea. Unfortunately, some of these amphorae were recovered in a looting scenario, but otherwise they were recovered by systematic excavation by one John Wood. Here we're seeing the research vessel. And here we're seeing images of this recovery. So John Wood from the Imperial College London undertook the task of excavating and bringing up some of the amphorae that were found in an area below the Xlendi Reef. So topographically, Xlendi underwater begins as a reef, goes gradually deeper when suddenly there's a steep incline. So it hits 60 meters and then again another steep dip going down to 100 meters. And the divers in the 60s and 70s were excavating around the reef area, but mostly at 60 meters depth. So these artifacts today are at the Gozo Museum of Archaeology, and they date to the Punic period. And it is basically this type of cargo that we find on the Tower Wreck. So the area of Xlendi has been subject to a lot of research. This is a screen grab from a paper written by Elena Toppardi, in which she categorizes the different ceramic typologies that are present in the Xlendi harbor. As you can see, we have things dating from the Tarshian cemetery phase, which is the prehistoric period, all the way through to the medieval period. But what we'll be focusing on today are the Punic. So after John Wood's excavations, we have further surveys in the area of the Tower Wreck, which really define the area because it located a substantial spread of amphorae at over 100 meters deep. And this was conducted by the French Dressen Group, and it was done via naval submarine the Griffin, as is pictured over here. And more deep water research was then conducted in the years that followed by the Superintendents of Cultural Heritage, including ROV survey, which told us more and more about the area until finally we could define it here. So in this red rectangle over here, this is the area that we speak of as the Xlendi Underwater Archaeological Park. It's a huge area encompassing 67,000 square meters, and actually more than that. And it contains at least one shipwreck, possibly more than one shipwreck, possibly not a shipwreck at all. It could have been that cargo was washed out by some sort of catastrophic event, like a tsunami from warehouses in Xlendi harbor. More research needs to happen in this area. What we know for sure is that at 105 meters, the area is rich in Punic ceramic containers. And you can see here what I mean by how the cargo is located. So it's located in dense clusters and scatters, and each of those small, round dots are amphorae. So here we can see a little better what we're talking about, these amphorae, but not only amphorae, we've also got urns, jugs, pots, plates, all dating to the Punic period, specifically around the 3rd to 2nd century BC. And that places the time period to the Second Punic War, in which Malta was taken over by the Romans at the time. So that's quite interesting, the time period to which this cargo dates. So now I'll move on to detailing the process of taking the site to park. So the project was undertaken by Heritage Malta's Underwater Cultural Heritage Unit and sponsored by the Malta Airport Foundation. Now, the Underwater Unit of Heritage Malta was established in 2019, and the goal was to balance preservation and protection of underwater cultural heritage whilst ensuring access. So, during this period, Malta also ratified the UNESCO Convention, which also, of course, enshrines accessibility to in-situ cultural remains, and thus the project was undertaken to elevate this site to park status and allow divers and non-divers accessibility to this area. And here we can see some images of the team involved in this. So we've got professionals like archaeologists, marine biologists, also divers, volunteer divers also locally, abroad, photogrammeters and the like. So lots of different expertise. It's a very multidisciplinary group of people that are working on the site. And here's an image of our first season of research on the site. So before transforming it to park, in 2020 we went to the tower wreck and we conducted dives at 105 meters to try and understand a little bit more about the site, its parameters, what's going on there, and what we have, what we don't, and how we can make it accessible. And so what we focused on was documenting the site firstly. So we would send our rebreather divers to 105 meters to document, using photogrammetry, the material that we have at the bottom. And here you can see how. Now, initially, they followed a circular route for the photogrammetric process, but as you can see, this doesn't look so great. So this is the route that they would have followed, but we realized that we were missing large chunks of area, let alone getting an overlap between images. So we then decided to switch to a grid-like format. We sort of divided the site into different areas, and the divers would swim along in a more grid-like pattern. So there would be a diver at either end with a flashlight to guide, the diver with the photogrammetry equipment who would swim along in this pattern to get a more systematic mode of documenting the site. And so in the end we get something like this. If you have to zoom in, you can see very clearly that there is an abundance of ceramic material, some just sitting on the seabed, some you can just see a handle, most of them are complete. There's probably a lot more underneath the sand, so it's a pretty unique site, very interesting, which is why we chose then to open it to the public. But as you can see in this rectangle, we've got that small area that we have surveyed and that we have documented, but there's still a lot more to go. So it takes a while to get through 67,000 square meters of site. However, we are working on using our AUV with a new camera in order to do this photogrammetry. And this is a collaboration with the University of Malta, and then to sort of fill in the gaps with diver surveying. So, creating the park. The process of taking it to the public first started with designating the area as a conservation area, and then as an archaeological zone at sea, which means that the area is protected and has restrictions such as no anchoring, no fishing, no stopping, as defined by the mariners' notices. So now we've got this area which is being protected. Then, how to make it accessible. So we have three modes of accessibility. There is first the in-situ access, so the physical dives, in which divers who are able to dive to more than 100 meters are able to access the site by booking a ticket. Here you can see the area that we designated as accessible, because of course the site is large, so we've designated a specific area with the geolocation that divers will be able to see at this point in time. Divers can book a ticket through our booking system, which works by having registered dive schools. So if I want to book a dive, I go to a registered dive school, I contact them, they will then book a trip ticket through our system that they have access to, and then they will use a registered dive boat, and all relevant authorities will be informed that the dive is to take place. So everything is very closely regulated, and of course the dive schools are also vetted. So this is how the physical dives happen. We also have physical access, but ex-situ. So in the Xlendi Tower, which was recently restored, we were lucky enough to have a good relationship with the Monshar local council that takes care of the tower to provide us with the opportunity to set up the exhibit at the lower floor of the tower. And the exhibit consists of artifacts, specifically 3 different amphorae from the wreck, and also panels with textual descriptions and also an audio-visual. So this provides individuals of the area with an opportunity to go into a museum-type environment and get in touch with the site without facing the restriction of diving underwater. And in the image on the lower left, you can actually see some individuals wearing a VR headset, and I will talk to you about that very shortly. First, I'd like to introduce the virtual realm of access by mentioning the underwatermalta.org virtual museum. So the virtual museum provides virtual access to a number of sites in Malta, not just the tower wreck, the Xlendi Underwater Archaeological Park, but also other wrecks dating to different periods. And what we have here are videos, 3D models, lots more information that anyone from anywhere in the world really can just go on the internet and access. So that's sort of taking the site to the public in a way that is more far-reaching and of course easier to use without facing the restriction of such great depth. And here we're just seeing a recorded image and video of how you can visit the tower wreck specifically. And as you would have seen at the end of the video, one can also access the tower wreck via virtual reality. So we've got our Dive into History program, which is a 360 experience by which viewers, participants can wear a headset and they can dive the site without ever entering water. So we've got this experience for other sites, not just the park. And here you can see people enjoying this experience. It allows them to get more immersed, more in touch with this heritage without obviously facing that restriction of diving. And behind you can see our new info kiosk. This is a sort of mobile exhibition booth that Heritage Malta recently invested in. And we're taking it around to different locations and major events in order to share our program of the Dive into History. So apart from the accessibility parameters, of course, we've been able to overcome the challenges such as the physical restrictions, but challenges are still faced with how to monitor and safeguard the site at such great depth. And to do this, we have installed a CCTV camera, which is looking down at the surface in the area of the park on the Xlendi Tower. So the Xlendi Tower has an upper part which is accessible via the pole, and the CCTV camera is stuck onto there. So that's monitoring all surface activity, but otherwise we really depend upon community reporting, any of the dive instructors that take divers down to the park, and we very much depend on a good relationship with these different stakeholders in order to ensure that the site is being taken care of, that we're safeguarding it diligently. So I realize my time is up, so just very briefly, what's next? Timigan really wishes to make this site a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the first one underwater, and we're very happy with the progress we've made so far, so that's an ambition that we have for the long term. Otherwise, I would like to finish off by thanking you guys for listening, but also all the different members, all the different people, from volunteers to people working at Heritage Malta, that are part of this project and have helped us make the Xlendi Park what it is today. So thank you.